let's look at a few examples of how to solve logarithmic equations. And the first ones I'm going to do are I think the most basic is when you have 1 log equal to 1 log. And we did several of these like in class, 1 log equal to 1 log. And here's another one, 1 log equal to 1 log. So let's just do another one right here where I have that 1 log equal to 1 log. And that's the same case even here. It's still the natural log is equal to the natural log. So you would solve this one the same way. It's just this one has a base e, where this one, if you don't see it, has a base 10. Okay, so if I was going to solve this, since I have 1 log equal to 1 log, I know what I'm taking of the log of has to be equal. So I'm going to take 16 plus 2b equals b squared minus 4b. Now, since I have something squared, I know that when I want to solve this, it needs to set equal to 0. So I'm going to bring all of this over to this other side. So I'm going to have b squared, and I'm going to subtract 2b from both sides. So that's going to give me negative 6b. And then I'm going to move the 16 to the other side, and that equals 0. Okay, so then I'm going to factor, hopefully. If you couldn't factor, you would have to use the quadratic formula. But you're looking for factors of negative 16 that add up to negative 6. So I think that's negative 8 and 2. So I can see here that b equals 8 or negative 2. Now what I've got to be careful of is that if I would plug these in, I don't get 0 inside or a negative. So I can see real quick, if I would plug an 8 in, that'd be positive. If I'd plug an 8 in, that's still going to be positive. So he's good. Same thing with negative 2. It's still going to end up being a positive value in here. And let me see, negative 2, that's going to give me 4. Yeah, everything is going to be good. So both those answers are going to work. All right, so again, you're looking for 1 log equal to 1 log. That won't work. Is there another one? Nope. Nope. So I think that's it on that page, okay? So again, when you get ready to do this one, you have 1 log equal to 1 log, you're going to start at 10 minus 4x equals 10 minus 3x, and then just solve, okay? Easy enough. All right, now let's look at some others. What if you only have 1 log? And I'm looking for an example of where there's only 1 log. And I think we did most of these in class, okay? But just as a review, let me remind you how you do this one. If there's only 1 log, you want to get this guy all by himself. So you're going to move this to the other side, and the opposite of a minus 10 is a plus 10. So that just happens to be 0. It won't always be 0. That's okay. So you get 0. Once you get it in this form, you're going to want to put it in exponential form. So you get 3 to the 0 equals n plus 3. And then you're just going to want to solve that. This gives you 1. And then just subtract 3 from both sides. And you can see that n equals negative 2. So cool beans. All right, so that's if there's only 1 log. Get the log by itself and then put it in exponential form. So I'm looking to see if you have one like that, and you do right here. I would get the log by itself. So I would start by dividing both sides by 2, okay, like that. So I'd have log base 7 of negative 2x equals 0. And then put that in exponential form. 7 to the 0 equals negative 2x, okay? I don't want to do that one for you. I want to save it for you because it's amazing. All right, so let's do, what if we have, that's a log equal to a log. Let's turn the page here. What if we have one like this? Notice there's 2 logs. And I think we may have done this one in class, but remember you can combine these 2 and make them 1. If you're adding, you're going to combine them by multiplying what you're taking the log of and then set it equal to 1. Now do you see how you have 1 log? So just like you solved your problems with 1 log, you're going to now put it in exponential form. If you don't see the base, you know the base is a 10. So it's 10 to the first equals 2x. So 10 equals 2x, divide both sides by 2. So I can see x is 5. Easy, easy, easy. Okay, that one's basically the same way. I would combine this by saying log base 8, and in parentheses, I can take and multiply what I'm taking the log of. So I would say 2 times 4x squared equals 1. Well, when I multiply these together, that gives me what, 8x squared? Then put this in exponential form. You've got 1 log, so put it in exponential form. So it's 8 to the first equals 8x squared. And 8 to the first is just 8. I would divide both sides by 8. So I have x squared equals 1. Remember when you solve that, there's two ways you could solve that. I could set it equal to 0 and factor. That's the difference of squares. So I can see that x is plus or minus 1. Here would give me a negative 1, and here would give me a positive 1. I just need to make sure if I would plug that in and I'm going to be okay, I'm not going to get 0 or negative. So both of those answers would work. All right. Let's do another one. Let's do this one that has a minus sign in it. Okay, this is the natural log with the same rules of play. And by the way, that is an L for the word log. That's the natural log. Because I'm subtracting, I would combine these two by dividing. So it's going to look like this. Okay. If you were going to put that in exponential form, which you would want to because this only has one log, my base here is an e. If it's the natural log, I know it's base e. So I have e equals 2 to the 3x plus 2. Now, I like this one. We are going to want to multiply both sides by the common denominator, which is 3x plus 2. So we've got this. 3x plus 2 times e equals 2, because these cancel. Okay? And then, let's see, there's more than one way to solve this. I'm just going to leave this to the very end because I'm going to plug it in my calculator, but I could divide both sides by e, just to get rid of that, because I have 3x plus 2 equals 2 over e, and then subtract 2. So I've got that, and then divide by 3. So you should be able to hit this in your calculator just as it is. And I want you to practice hitting this in your calculator. So I haven't even done it before in my calculator, so I don't know the answer, but let's try it. If I was going to do it in my fancy calculator here, I would hit the fraction button first because I see a fraction right here. And this is 2 over e. So guess what? I'm going to hit the fraction button again, and I'm going to put exactly what I see in here, 2 to the e. Now here's the deal with e. E is right here, so it's in green, but your calculator is going to make you tell the exponent. So it's a 1. If it's just e to the first, it's a 1. So there's your 2 over e, and then it says I want to take minus 2, so I'm hitting minus 2, and then I'm going to arrow down to the denominator, and I'm going to put a 3 in, because that's what we had right there. So this should look just like that in your calculator. If not, if you don't have this nice calculator, I have to do it in steps. I'm going to hit the enter button or equals. So it's going to be about negative 0.421. Obviously, anytime there's an e, because e is irrational, you're going to have to approximate the answer. So this is probably about negative 4.21. So practice that in your calculator. Little tricky, not difficult to solve it. It's the tricky part down here. And if you want to get rid of e at the get-go right here so you don't have to mess with it, you could go ahead and hit 2 divided by e. So I'd hit my fraction button, and I would hit 2, and then I'd have to put e, and you still have to tell it that it's e to the first. You always have to tell the exponent on your e. So that's e to the first. And then hit that, and then use that decimal, round it off to like 4 decimal places, and you could use that in place of that right there. So you could kind of do it in steps. All right, so give that a whirl. And you know what? Before I stop, let's do this other one. I see 1, 2, 3 logs. So the first thing I'm going to do is I see a minus sign, so I'm going to combine these two by dividing what I'm taking the log of. And that equals the log of 5. Okay, now this is exactly like the first few problems you had. You have 1 log equal to 1 log. So now I can take what I'm taking the log of. My pencil's not working very good. Instead of equal. Okay, so I'm going to let you practice solving that, but you would basically start by multiplying both sides by x minus 5. Okay, that way those would cancel. So I would have x minus 3. Look at me, I'm accidentally solving it, and I can't even help it. Equals 25. So I'm going to bring this x over here, which makes this a 4x. I'm going to move my 25 over here, which makes this a 22. Right, if I add 25 to both sides. Divide both sides by 4, so I have 22 fourths equals x, which gives me what? 11 halves equals x. Gorgeous answer. And there you go.